All right. I guess this is an unofficial face reveal. I mean, I never really planned on being faceless, but just because I didn't have two cameras, so if I was ripping something or like showing cards, I couldn't really do a face camera and also show the cards. I only just have my phone. But today, I'm giving tips for mainly people new into the hobby because I'm not a veteran by any means. I've been collecting for a little over a year, but I've picked up a good amount of information just from being around the hobby, but also watching videos like this. I watch a lot of creators. I watch Drake all the time. I watch Card Collector 2. I watch Sports Card Investor. There's a lot of channels. I can only give so much info. Check out other channels. They have a lot more knowledge. A lot of those guys have been in the hobby for decade plus. Um, but I do have a bit of a cold right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I think my eyes are a little like stuffed up, but it's whatever. Let's just get right into tip number one. This is one that you guys have probably heard multiple times, but I'll repeat it. It's a very important tip. Ripping should be for fun, not for profit. Now, when I rip, when I rip, it's a little different because I make YouTube videos. Now, I make nothing after YouTube videos. My long form videos get like 2 views, maybe. Um, but I'm opening it for a video, but also I'm opening stuff and I'm not expecting to make my money back. I'm like, okay, if I can get 75% back, great. That's great. And I have the fun of ripping it and then I got to record it. Because the fact of the matter is the chance that you make your money back on a box is very low, especially on certain boxes. Um, the reason I made this video is because I sold this card on Facebook Marketplace. The guy who was new into collecting, he asked me what products were best to rip. I tried to explain this to him where it really depends. You can open up Score where it's very cheap. Like you can get it for $25, you get 90 cards, which is pretty good. Or you can open up Rookies and Stars, which has a higher floor and a lower ceiling. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you open up an Optic Blaster box, for example, it's like $60. It's really like it's like uptown or downtown or bust, or you're losing money really. So you shouldn't be opening them hoping to make money. On some boxes you will make money if you open up enough, but on the majority you won't. So it's just I don't rip expensive boxes. The most I've spent on a box is $30. I rip it for fun. That's why I like opening up cheap packs. That's why I do the Throwback Thursday series on this channel. It's fun ripping up those packs. I spend $1 on those Throwback Thursday packs. That's tip number one. Like I said, you guys have probably heard that. But number two is about negotiations. Negotiations are obviously a very important part of the hobby. Whether you're selling cards or not, this is more so for people that plan to sell or are already selling. But even if you're just collecting, you obviously want to buy at the lowest price possible, the best price possible. A phrase that I hate hearing, that I will never say, and I hate when people say this to me, is "What's your lowest on it?" I was negotiating with somebody on Colex. It was like a $6 card. I had it listed for I think 6. And they're like, "Oh, it's a cool card. I couldn't do 6 though." I was like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Oh, what's the lowest?" It's like, you know, I'm into it for 3. So worst case scenario, I take 3. I break even. Best case scenario, I take 5. But it's like it really depends, and I don't want to just them to be able to skip the negotiation. So when I see a card, I will never pay sticker unless it's a really good deal. So I just recorded a short where I sold a Caleb Williams and Roma Dunes, a dual rookie patch. So I looked up the comps on that card. I saw the card show the last 2 sales when I bought it were I think 35 and 30. This guy had stickered for 8. So I just took the 8. I gave him $8 for it and I walked away. So I didn't want to negotiate for 5, for example. It would have been a better deal. They might have accepted it, but they also might have looked it up. They might have looked up the card and they might have been like, "Ooh, last 2 did 30 and 35. I don't want to sell this for even 8." So in situations like that, where I could have gained another $3, but I still profited 27 on the card, yeah, I could have made 30. but I also could have risked the entire thing. But any other time, you don't pay sticker. You simply shouldn't pay sticker. Now, this is a side tip. So I buy a lot from dollar boxes. So when I go to a card show, what I target is people with cases with like $500 cards, $1,000 cards, and then they have dollar boxes. Because to them, they don't care about the dollar boxes. They don't want to lug that stuff back. That stuff is like pure profit for them. So, for example, I might pick up 40 cards and be like, would you take 20? It might be like, I'd take 25. And I'd be like, okay. You can get really, really good margins on dollar boxes when you know what you're looking for. Now, if it's somebody that's, say they've got a display, they've got like 10, 15, $20 cards in a dollar box, you're not going to be able to get as good of a margin on them because they're still kind of dealing a lot more with those lower end cards like I am. So you kind of have to look out for that. That's what I do. Look out for people with high-end cards and then a dollar box, and you can get them for great deals. When I go to shows and I buy her dollar boxes, yeah, they're sticking at $1 a piece, but I'm really buying them for 55, 60 cents on average a piece, and that makes the profit and the margins so much higher, so much better. So okay, always negotiate. Even if it's $25, you ask for 20, you meet at 22. That's always better. You just save yourself $3. And I have never met a dealer that is 100% firm. Now, on higher end cards that I'm not really dealing with, sometimes they're firm. When I'm dealing with dollar box cards, $5 cards, $10 cards, they're almost never firm, which they shouldn't be. So buy at the lowest you can. So if I have 30, or if I have three $10 cards up to 30, I might be like, would you take 20? Which might be a little low of an offer. You know, I wouldn't buy them if they're worth 10 a piece. I'd be like, oh, these are $12, $15 cards. Sticker at 30. Would you take 20? Because if it does, great. If not, we meet at the middle of 25. You always got to negotiate. Negotiating is very, very important. That kind of leads into my next tip. Kind of a smaller tip is cash is king. Cash is really king. You go to a card show, obviously, again, less effect to me, especially in bigger deals. If you make it clear you're paying in cash, you can get a better deal because these guys don't have to pay taxes on it. They don't have to pay seller fees if it's on a website. They don't have to pay any shipping. I don't have to pay any shipping or taxes or whatever. It's just if I see a card for $25, we agree on 20. I give out exactly $20 cash. They receive exactly $20 cash. Now, if I was buying a $20 card on Colex, for example, okay, then there's the tax. You know, that might be 50 cents. The shipping might be $1.50. I'm end up paying him $22, but then Colex takes Colex takes their 10%, so he's ending up with like 18. I'm giving him 22. Both people lost in that situation. Compared to if it was cash. And obviously you can't really pay in cash online, but that's why it's so key. The best selling and the best buying is with cash. A lot of the people, which I'll talk about in a minute, will sell on Twitter or Instagram because they don't have to do buyer fees. They'll meet up with a guy or they'll ship. And even if they ship, they can do it through Venmo or PayPal. They can do no fees on that stuff too. So that kind of goes to my next tip here is one that I'm currently following is expand your selling spots. So okay, say you're someone that's selling cards, you're only selling on eBay. That's obviously great. eBay is the place that people go and buy and sell cards. I'm not on eBay yet just because I don't have a shipping label. I plan to get one very soon, but that's great. But I would recommend listing on more places. Go to Colex, list some of your stuff. Maybe not list everything, because that would take a while. List your higher end cards. List them on Colex. You never know who's looking on Colex and not on eBay. And then list on Marketplace. I think Marketplace is a great spot. I have sold 3 cards within like the last month and a half on Marketplace. So I don't get a ton of sales, but the sales I do get are very good. The most recent one was the Kayla Williams I talk about. I was into for 8. I agreed on 35. I paid 8 cash. I got 35 cash. The guy came to me. I had profited $27. The one before that was a Wemby rookie Youthquake Topps rookie, unlicensed, but I got that for a really good deal. I bought that from my local card shop on their Whatnot stream. I paid less than $2 for it after shipping and taxes. I got a really good deal on it. They didn't have a ton of viewers at the time. Sold that for $28 profit. Now, again, part of that is because I'm buying these cards at such a good price. But also, I think Marketplaces has a different buyer, you know? I wouldn't get 35 for that Caleb and Rome patch on Colex or on eBay, really, for that matter. I think that's very important. And like I said, Twitter and Instagram are becoming very big because you can meet up with people, you can message people, and you can avoid paying the taxes and the seller fees that you would on eBay or Colex. So I think it never hurts. It never hurts to list your stuff on more places. I've seen people list cards on Depop, on Vinted, on Craigslist. Now, how many sales are they getting? Probably very little, close to zero. But you never know. You never know. It does not hurt. It does not take very long, and it does not hurt. You never know who's looking at Depop and they come across a card. Maybe the card's worth $5. You have it listed on there for 10, and they buy it for 10. You never know. It's just different people looking at different sites can get you different results. And I think that's very important. And then my last tip I have today that I could do a whole video on. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. But the last tip I have is about shipping. Research your shipping. Research your shipping. So if you're selling... So for me, for example, I'm selling on Colex. I don't have a shipping label, so I'm doing this all by hand. I made sure I did my research because the worst thing that you can have happen is you send out a package and say USPS says it's non-machinable. And so you would owe another 49 cents or whatever. It would go to the buyer, and it would make it charge them. And if they don't pay, it comes back to you, all over 50 cents. It's a huge nightmare. It takes that can add up to like a month. It can be a nightmare. It can be a nightmare over 50 cents. Research your shipping. So for a while, I've just been shipping non-machinable because it costs, like I said, another 49 cents on all these cards. And that way I can ship in a top loader. And I know for a fact that it will get there. And I researched, you have to do the additional ounce stamps because a normal envelope is just for, or a normal stamp is just for 1 ounce. And if you're shipping more than 2 cards, 3 cards, it's going to be more than an ounce. So I'd also recommend getting a scale. I just have a cheap kitchen scale. I picked this up at Walmart for $12, I think. Very important for the additional ounce stamps. The additional ounce stamps are in here. You can buy them at your local post office. You can ask the worker. A lot of them have machines. They're just these. You fold them on the edges. It's very important is what I'm trying to get at. And if you're using a shipping label, it's still important because if you're shipping PWE, you got to know how to ship it. You have to know how to ship it machinable because if eBay or Colex, they're not going to cover a non-machinable charge, so you can't ship in top loads. You have to ship in semi-rigid like this that can ship PWE that I'm starting to use more of as I'm researching that more, which is very important. And if you're shipping, a bubble mail or whatever, you just have to know. It's very important to research this. Like I said, I could do a whole video on this because that was one thing I was very concerned about, and I made sure I knew what I was doing on the shipping side of things. I could do a whole nother video on that if you guys wanted me to. And I could probably think of more tips, but that's just what I have for today. That's just what popped into my mind. Well, that's kind of a lie. I mean, I did put it on a note here, just so I wouldn't forget. But I made this note 2 seconds before hitting the record button. This is definitely a little bit of a different video. It's definitely gonna be a little weird, but like I said, I get 2 views, maybe. I think my last long form video got 0 views. So if you guys are watching this, I'm a very small creator, very, very small. So I would very appreciate a like, a subscribe, and commenting down below is very helpful. It helps the algorithm. I might get to 3 views on this video if one of you guys comments. That'd be huge. But that's all I got today. Like I said, I can make more videos on this in the future if you guys want me to.